Okay, so the brain transplant video was talking about a neuronal transplant. Um, we start by learning about these frozen addicts. They were called that because their bodies were frozen, they were unable to move. They took a drug off the street, what they thought was heroin, but it was really a designer drug. This street chemist was trying to make something called MPPP, but he instead made a compound called MPTP, which essentially killed the neurons in the substantia nigra. It's a part of the basal ganglia, and basal ganglia controls motor movements. So they basically had Parkinson's disease, drug-induced Parkinson's disease. The symptoms were pretty matched up perfectly. They had a slowing of all motor functions, specifically muscularly. They had tremors in their extremities, but when they walked, it was like a slow gated walk, and they had a bend in the middle. Their other movements were slowly executed and sometimes painful, stiff and rigid muscle movements. They also had a loss of expression in their face and an inability to spontaneously blink while in conversation, so they kind of had this creepy stare when you were talking with them. So this was good in concerning medical research, that they found out the compound MPTP can induce Parkinson's, so that in animal studies they can now give the animals Parkinson's and then try treatments to try and cure them. I mean, not good for the animals, but good for medical research. So they started doing studies, and they found that if they transplanted these neurons from fetuses, that the monkey or the primates, I'm not sure if they're monkeys, the primates were able to slowly regain the ability to create dopamine in their brain. The thing with the neurons in the substantia nigra is that they create dopamine for the brain, which gets the whole system moving. It excites some systems and inhibits other systems. So without those specific neurons in the substantia nigra, our brain has no dopamine, no more, it's progressive. So whether you have drug-induced Parkinson's or you slowly get it as you're aging, you'll eventually have all the dopaminergic neurons in your brain die off, and it doesn't matter if they're like giving you dopamine, you're not going to be able to process it in your brain. There's no receptors, and there's no neurons to make more dopamine. So what they did was made L-Dopa the treatment, because L-Dopa is the precursor to dopamine. And this they actually gave to the frozen addicts before they did the animal treatment with the neurons. And it did help temporarily. They were able to regain the ability to use all their motor functions, but excuse me, but you need a lot of L-DOPA in order to function properly. And it doesn't discriminate. So it's exciting some systems way too much while inhibiting others. So while they're able to move too much, and then it was even causing hallucinations. Yeah. So they were really excited about the surgery. A doctor in Mexico had a Parkinson's patient, and he was able to do the surgery and get his movements back almost all the way, but they weren't able to replicate these results. So 2 of the 6 frozen addicts were candidates for the surgery, but I think they just never were able to see, because the animal trials went well, and the 2 participants, George and Juanita, they did improve. 10% of the cells that they had in the substantia nigra they took fetal cells, and 10% of those they grafted them on to part of the basal ganglia, the putamen, I think, and they took, and those small amount of cells helped them improve with their motor functions, but they never regained full motor function. And I believe over time, just like if you acquired Parkinson's naturally, the disease still is progressive. So I think they still had to take L-DOPA and have that extra help with those few neurons making dopamine in their system. So I was curious after the film if they're still trying these neuronal transplants for Parkinson's patients, because I know you can't just give L-DOPA. It's not gonna work on the system. And there are a lot of clinical trials that are trying this in different ways. And they're even trying to use tissue from the patients themselves, so that way they don't have to be on immunosuppressants for the rest of their life. I watched the video last night, so I'm trying to remember if I had any more questions. And I don't think I did. It was pretty clear. So the thing I found most interesting and surprising was kind of how long ago the video was and how much we still have research to do on Parkinson's disease / other neuronal functioning diseases in the brain. I know like dementia and Alzheimer's also have to do with loss of neurons, or loss of other parts of the brain. Yeah, it's pretty complicated, and it's pretty interesting. So yeah, that's it.